channel. In today's tutorial, I am going to show you how to create an amazing ocean wave. So, stick around. So, in this painting, the first thing that I'm going to start with is getting my paints collected, putting some of the colors out. I'm not going to put all of them out right away, just a few for the sky. So, let me show you how we're going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to put 3 colors out on my palette, well actually 4. I'm going to start with some bright blue. Now you can use any acrylic paint. I'm just going to show you this way that you can use craft paint to make your amazing ocean wave painting. I'm going to get some turquoise. I'm going to get a little bit of purple violet. And I'm going to get some white. I'm going to put white in the middle. Now I'm going to use a flat brush. And the first thing I'm going to do is get a little bit of this blue and turquoise, just put a little bit of this together. And I'm just going to start highlighting some of the areas that I'm or outlining some of my background here. So I'm going to put the horizon line in, and I'm just going to use the flat end of this brush. And I'm going to come down about 1/3 of the way, maybe not quite 1/3. You can kind of put your horizon line whichever place suits you. And if you have trouble doing a straight line, you can always tape it off. Or one thing I like to tell people is doing lines is like riding a bike. The slower that you go, the more wobbly it's going to be. So just doing it. You could also hold a ruler up. So I'm just kind of doing that to establish where the horizon line is going to be. And you don't have to worry about it being perfect because there's several layers in this. Now I'm going to come down about not too far from there, and about here, maybe a couple of inches, and I'm just going to put a staggering little line. This is the top of the wave that we're going to create. And I'm going to come down this way, and this is the bottom. I'm going to have this come up right here. So I'm just doing my outline, and then this is going to be lower part. And I'm going to have this wave kind of come at an angle a little bit. So I'm just going to stagger this, and I'm going to have it come down like that. So that is the very first step, is laying out how you want the structure of the painting to be. Okay, so after we get that established, now we're going to start putting our first layer of paint on. So I'm going to get my brush wet, and I'm going to start at the top with some bright blue. Now you can use any brush that makes you feel comfortable. I like using this flat brush for large areas. I even use, this is one of my go-to brushes. I just kind of prefer it, but that may not be yours. So I'm gonna get that laid on, and I like doing my sides too, so I am making sure that I wrap it around the edges of my canvas. I'm going to give my brush a rinse. Now I'm going to get some of this turquoise with some white, and I'm going to put that in here. See how you have those little white spots that come through? That means usually you need to get a little bit more water on your brush and get this paint a little more flowing. And that way it should glide across like butter. Now I'm going to just bring it up into what I just painted of the blue and let a little bit of mixing happen on the canvas. So as I'm doing that, I'm just kind of pulling up and going back and forth. Now I've rinsed my brush again, and I'm going to come down, I'm going to get more white, and I'm going to throw a little pop of purple in here. Purple and white. And again, pulling upward to mix it with what's above. I'm going to get even more white now. And I want this lower section to just be much brighter than the top section. And we will come back to put another layer on this shortly. So we don't have to worry about everything being exactly right. Okay, that's the one thing to keep in mind when you're laying out the foundation color of the paint. You don't need to worry about everything being perfect. We're going from general information to specific information later. So now I want to put some black on my plate, just a little bit. Black's a strong color. We don't need much of it. You can mix your own black with red, yellow, and blue, and that will make a black. I'm going to use this ready-made black, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of this blue just to tint it a hair. Get a little bit more blue on here. I'm going to come in here and I'm just picking some areas that are going to be darker than some other areas, like right here. And what we're doing is we're laying down the colors that will go underneath. So these colors will go underneath the top layers that we're going to be adding. Now I'm going to get just some regular blue with some turquoise. I'm going to just kind of come in some places. Come down. That's the top of our wave. I think I'm going to put a little bit more shadow area over here. And we'll pop some blue and turquoise in this area. And we'll put a little bit of turquoise and blue right in with that black. We'll let it kind of mix in a little bit. And then I'm just going to smooth this over. Okay, now that I have that, I'm going to come in and put some shadow areas that are going to be in this wave. So we're going to put some purple with some blue. Right down here in this area. It's going to come up a little bit here. Might even pop in just a touch of turquoise, a couple of spots. Maybe a touch of turquoise up here. And these are going to be underneath the other layer of paint, so we'll see these. So you'll see this is a building process. I'm going to come in. Get a little more water on my brush. And now I'm going to get some turquoise, some blue, and mix it with a little black. I'm going to come right over here. I'm going to have this rolling up here. This is going to be the shadow underneath this part. Okay. And I am going to bring some of that shadow out here. Get a little bit more blue in there, a little bit more black. Catch my little drippies here. Okay, so now I've got those shadow areas. I want to let that kind of dry before I start doing anything up there. So I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to start putting my sand in. And we're going to be able to see sand through the water here that's washing up on the beach. So I'm going to get some brown. And I'm going to get some brown with some white. And to start with, I'll have it be a little dark. So I'm going to mix a little touch of black in there. And I'm going to come in just kind of getting my shoreline established first. Maybe I'll make it a little bit lighter as I go up. I'm kind of mixing the paint as I go because that way I get a lot of different variations in the color instead of it just being like a solid pre-made color. I'm just pulling some out as I go, and no two times is it going to be exactly the same, which is kind of what we want because then we have the variations in the shade. I'm going to just smooth this out by going back and forth. Now since I am doing my edges, I'm going to slide my canvas up and I'm going to make sure I get the bottom and the sides. Okay. Just run this across the bottom, make sure we got it all. Okay. So I'm going to come up here and establish a couple of spots where I'm going to see some of this brown sand in the water. So I want to kind of just take the end of my brush and start putting some of those areas in. And I'll just kind of, you know, thinking about how the waves are going to be. And maybe it'll be a little bit fainter back here. Then I'm going to take some blue and white. Maybe with a touch of black. And have some areas that kind of have like a blue tint, and the froth from the waves coming in will be kind of around it. So we'll put some of those in. Maybe one is kind of twirly here. We'll have like a lot of froth here, and the light is going to create these blue shadows. Maybe we'll have some blue shadow here and here right underneath the wave. Maybe we'll have a little blue shadow here. Maybe I'll get a pop of turquoise in with that, and I'll put a little pop of turquoise over here. Same thing here. And now I'm just going to put a real thin layer. I'm just getting this really thinned out. And I'm just going to kind of cover everywhere lightly, roughly, with some of this brown and white. I just want to get the whole thing with a layer of paint on it. And if some of this mixes in, that's fine. Okay, now I'm going to get some apple tart green, and I'm going to mix that with some blue, the bright blue, the turquoise, and apple tart. Get a little bit more blue. And this is going to be our incoming wave. It's the darkest color besides the shadow areas. So we're going to bring that in towards the top here of this wave on this side. Maybe we'll add a little bit of it right here. So we'll have that, and we'll put some of that same darker color towards the lower end, and we can bring that right into our black a little. I'm going to pull that down into the black and lightly go over it so that it will blend in. Now in the center here, I'm going to use some turquoise and apple tart. And I'm just going to kind of come in here and fill in the center area. And then I'm going to slowly blend this in. And we'll come back, we'll have to put another layer on here. So we'll just kind of make sure that's kind of blended in just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to let this dry for a few minutes before we do the next layering of paint. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're back. Now the first layer has dried, so I'm going to come in now and start putting our second layer in. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to the sky, and I'm just going to get a little bit of the blue again. I'm going to put that on. Okay, pull this up. So I'm just going to come over with a second layer now. And I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to get some turquoise and white. I'm going to blend it up into, catch my run there, into the background of the blue. I think I'm going to lift this all the way up out of my way. And we're going to grab some purple again. Pulling it up into the turquoise. And now I'm going to rinse my brush. And I'm going to get some white. I'm just going to bring that up into the lavender and purple. And we'll continue. Take a little bit of it along that edge. Okay, and now we're going to come in again to our shoreline with some turquoise and white, and I'm not mixing too much, just a little thin layer, and I just want to come along this back edge. Now I'm going to get some bright blue with just a touch of black. Lightly go across this back area. And I'm going to take some turquoise and blue. Come in this front area. Now we're still not adding the details yet. The details will be in a little bit. Make sure I get my sides. Okay, now I want to come down again and put a little more layers here. So I want to get some of this blue and black. Just kind of come down in here again so that our shadow area is rich in color. And we'll get some more green and purple. Or no, that wasn't green and purple. That was purple and blue. Blue and purple. We'll come in and just put a little bit more of that in there. All right. Now, I'm going to get a little bit more of the turquoise and green with a touch of blue and come up here where I want this to be darker, right under here. Maybe I'll add a touch of black to it. Just get some turquoise and green. Yeah. Turquoise and green. We'll come across here. Maybe we'll try a little turquoise and blue. And we'll kind of let that dry, but we're going to come down and blend this in just a little bit here. And we still will put one more layer on that. Now, we want to come in and put some other coloring down in here in the water area. And we also want to put some shading down in here. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to pop in some purple just in a few sections here. And we'll kind of let that dry. Make sure we get some nice little pops of it. Okay. We can take our little, you can use a brown brush, or you can use a fine line brush, whichever is easier for you. I'm going to just use my round brush, and I'm going to get a little bit of turquoise, and I'm going to come in and just start putting some little areas in here. I'm just going to kind of wiggle around. Thinking about how the wave is coming in and what it's going to create. Maybe I'll have some over here too. I'm going to kind of come in, and I wet my brush, and I'm just going to kind of spread it out a little bit so it's not so harsh. Just kind of pushing and pulling. Okay. And now we'll do the same thing. We're going to pick up a little bit of brown on our round brush with some water. Maybe we'll add a little touch of white to it. So brown and white. We're going to come in and just fill in some areas. Actually, I think I'm going to try just using straight brown. Maybe I'm going to add a little touch of black to it. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. I'll just come in here. Now I add a little bit of white over here. Just going to come in and put little ripply lines in here. And these are going to be the areas that we're going to add white to here next to give the little foamy lines, but it's not going to be like straight white. We'll Put some over here. Now if you take your time doing this part with this little bit of detail, the finishing touches will look a lot nicer. Maybe I'm going to have a little bit of a darker area right here. So now I want to come in with some purple and white. So I'm going to have purple and white. And just a little bit of white, and thin it out. Just going to add some areas. All right, now we need to create a dark shadow under here. Shadows are really important to have the contrast and to ground something. So I'm going to use black and bright blue. I'm just going to come under here, a little bit more black. And maybe we'll start throwing in a little bit of shadowing around the start of the water line here. Kind of smooth some of this out. Try to soften some of my edges here. Okay. Now we're going to come in and put in some little swirly moving lines in this part of the water, and I also want to come in, let me get my flat brush, and I want to put in some purple and blue over here to kind of be underneath some of the little splash that's going to be coming down here. So I'm just going to put some of that in there. I'm going to go back to my round brush, and I'm going to get turquoise and white. Just want to thin this paint out. You don't want these to be real obvious. I'm just going to kind of softly come in here. a little bit more turquoise to it. And it'll be lighter over here. So I added a little bit more white. Now I'm going to get some of this lime green with a little bit of black in it. I'm gonna kind of bring this forward a little bit and up into here. Bit of the blue and the apple tart green with a touch of black. I want to get it darker over here, and I'll go right over that other black area here with this. I'm just dabbing. And we'll come in and blend that up. All right, now we're going to add a little bit more turquoise and white. Just thin it out. I'm going to come in here and just put a little bit more turquoise in there. Okay. Now we're going to come in with our white in a second down here, but let's come back up here now and let's start putting a little bit more detail back in the background. I'm going to take some of my bright blue on my little round brush, and I'm just going to come in and put some little squiggly, little tiny lines. Not too many far in the distance. And we'll add a few black ones too. Actually, I think I'm going to mix it black with the blue. So I'm going to just pick not too many areas, just some areas where maybe it's a little bit darker there. And I'll blend them out a little bit, the bigger ones. And I'm going to do the same thing with my turquoise. I want to come in. Just put some little marks. I don't have to worry about getting too close here because the wave's going to come up and it's going to have a splash. I might have a little bit back here. Now I can take my flat brush and come in and just kind of soften that out a little bit. Make it not look so much like little tiny lines. Okay. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to put a very thin layer of white over top of this water. So I'm going to get some white and I'm going to get myself another plate because my plate is getting full. So I'm going to get some white. Thin it out. Even add a little bit more water to it. I'm just going to lightly put a thin layer of white over everything. This is actually called SCUM-BLING. It's when you're doing a small area, putting a thin layer of paint. And I can even bring some of that white into there. That was not quite dry yet, so I'll wait a little bit and put some more there. But I think this part's dry, so I'm going to lightly in here. And one nice thing about SCUM-BLING is if you put it on and you don't like it, all you have to do, get your brush wet, give it a tap on your paper towel, and you can take it off of the areas that you really didn't want it to be. Okay, so now that we have a thin layer of white on there, I want to put a thin layer of white on the beach as well. So I'm going to get my white, and I'm just going to lightly come over everything. I don't want to go over the shadow under the water, but I want to get up fairly close. can come in a couple sections and get a little bit lighter there. Now if you want to have your sand have a little bit more texture on it, you can add some texture, and I'll do that in a minute. But I want to come in now with my round brush, and I'm going to use white and start putting a little bit more of this detail down in here. Actually though, I just realized I want to add a little touch of purple down here at the bottom of this, because the water is splashing down there, and I just want to have a little bit of purple there, as well as over here. And a little bit of turquoise right here at the top of that corner. Okay. Now for the white. Now I don't want this to be too thin, so I want to, you know, a nice little, a good amount on here. I'm going to just touch the brown a little. Just give it a little, not bright white color, okay? So I'm going to come in and just kind of move my brush up and down, kind of create little pocket or little sections where that froth is coming. So I like to look at some of the shadow areas I've created, like see here, and I can make a little pile of froth in there. Maybe there's like a little wave right there. Little swirls. I'm looking at my different colors here. Now I'm going to get just some plain white. I'm just going to brush off. Without the brown. Maybe there's a bright spot here. If I come in and take my little, just barely the tip, and just make some little tiny lines, maybe put even some dots. Come to the edge here. come back in and kind of smooth out some of these. Now along this edge here, I'm going to come in with a little bit of purple and white with a touch of black and kind of make like a little bit of a gray. Just kind of come in and put some little shadowy spots. I'll add a little touch of brown to that purpley gray. A little bit more black. Get some of those little spots over here. Okay, and it's good to step back and take a look at what's really going on, but this is a good time for a break and let the canvas get nice and dry, and we'll put another layer on. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we're going to get back in here and start putting one layer on. So I want to come back now with a little, I'm going to start from the top again. I'm just going to add I'm going to get some more bright blue. I'm going to add some bright blue. Just across the top here. Excuse me. Okay. Just a little bit. Oops, I hit my sky there. So I'll just come in and take that off. Now I want to put one more pop of white across the bottom of that sky back there. Right along the bottom here. Just want to get it nice little bright white right there at the horizon line. Okay. Now I'm going to come in now and I'm going to take a little pop of yellow with white. Just come in here a little bit. And not have so much of that black shadow area showing. In some places we can have it not showing at all. Just just going to come in. I'll pull it out a little bit more. So that was yellow and white. I'm going to bring that in a little bit there. And just a thin layer across there. And I am going to take now a little bit of bright blue and thin it out. And over here where this area was, I'm just going to shadow some of that with a little bit of that bright blue. And I'm going to take a little touch of brown. And put a thin layer of that right in here. So I'm basically just putting some thin layers. I need a little bit more. I think I'm going to put some brown over here too. Okay. I'm going to get some more white. I'm going to start adding in some of the finer detail with the waves and also the water here. So I'm going to use a pretty stiff brush. It's pretty hard. And I'm going to just dip it tap it. Don't want too much on there. And I'm just going to start coming up and start putting in some of my sprays from the water. Maybe here it has a light spray that goes all the way up. Maybe it just kind of goes over like that there and comes down and sprays out into there. And I'll put some over here. Just lightly dabbing. Maybe it comes up a little here. Maybe it comes over like that. There's a bigger one here. just lightly dab in here. I want to still be able to see through to have that shadow under there, so I'm just going to go slow and take my time to build this up. Here, get some more white. Slowly take your time and just dab. Now I'm looking down here too. I could have some of these little dabs coming out here too. There could even be, you know, some that are out in the beach. Come in. Look for little tops of sections that might look like a little thing of water wants to live on top of it. And we'll just kind of come over here. We'll come front here. I want to dab this too. This is like another little area of water that's come over. So we want to see the shadow under it, but when I'm lighting it up. Maybe some of that just wants to spray out here. I want to make sure I dab this a little bit more. I want to really feel the rush of that water when we see the picture. Put some dabs in here, get. We could have some of these sprays go up higher. Or just lightly. Now I can come in with my little round brush now, and in some areas maybe I just want to have some dots. They're like little water droplets. In some areas, I could have it smooth, a little bit smoother, so I can come in, smooth out areas that I want to have smooth. Okay. Well, I think you could take this. You could take this pretty far. You really could. I could keep going and keep going. The more you do this, the biggest thing to remember is to always think about your shadows and your lights and what's underneath, the colors that are underneath. So, you can do you can add more pops of, I could put another little pop of turquoise and light green right in here if I wanted, just to give that a little bit more pop. You can layer and layer and layer and layer an acrylic painting, which is exactly what I love about acrylic painting, is that you can do that. So we'll give that a pop. Maybe I think my dark areas are kind of dark enough, except I might come in just a couple little areas here. Just kind of make sense of what's happening here. So you could do some touch-ups on yours, and I will do a couple more little touch-ups on mine, and I'll see you in a second, wrapping it up. Well, I hope you've found this tutorial helpful in learning how you can structure making amazing waves. I really appreciate you stopping by. And oh hey, it's you I'm making these videos for. So if you have an idea of something you'd like to learn how to paint or a technique, drop it in the messages. I'll be sure to see it and I'll let you know if I can do it. Also, like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that old bell. That's how you get notified when I upload new videos. So, until next time, happy painting.